Good afternoon. Welcome back to another rendition of the B&H Virtual Event Space. You're back for another round of our In Conversation series. Sony Artisan of Imagery, Mike Colo joining us second time in 2 weeks. Are you sick of me yet?
No, not at all. Not at all. I
Uh,
missed you actually the whole week.
Same, man. It's like we had such great conversation. I was like, I
Yeah.
was sad, and then I'm like, wait, I get to have him back. And this time it's like, I always like when we have a more broad topic to discuss, and today I think is that we're talking about managing the creative process, which we can go in a number of directions for that. So but first, I do want to thank Sony for sponsoring this event today and welcome everybody joining us from the outer reaches of the internet. And you guys already know the drill. If you have any questions, make sure to get them in. And this is, like I said, it's going to be far reaching, so any questions that you guys have on the creative process in general, I think anything's on the table here. So Mike, I kind of want to talk to you about your ideas, your thesis, your process in every aspect, the pre, the during, the post. But let's start about with the creative process. What is the creative process to you? What does that entail?
Oh, I think that before a shoot, I think that I'm always looking to dig deep. I think, after shooting for so many years, it gets to be a job, I'll be honest. So sometimes on my way to a job, I'm just like thinking about other stuff, not really like diving in. But if I'm being intentional about it, like especially if I'm going to a shoot where I know it's something new and different, and requires a little extra creativity. um yeah, like I tend to just I think I tend to try to lower the nerves. I think like a lot of times I get nervous before a shoot, especially when it's something new. And so I think the creative process like gets cut off when I'm nervous. So I try to just kind of remind myself, look, you've been here before, you've done this before, you're going to be fine, everything's going to be good. And I try to kind of clear my mind. I think that like if I try to put too many things in my mind or try to make plans or try to just plan it out, I think that ends up, I don't know, hurting me or something. And when I get to the shoot, nothing ever goes as I think it's going to go. So clearing the mind and almost like approaching it as like winging it in a way, and trusting my instincts and trusting my past experience and trusting that, you've been here before and you've gotten great results. So just go with the flow. And I think that also just remembering that each shoot and each person that I photograph is unique and different, and you can't. I find I have a problem with trying to plan too much, because when I get there and I meet the person, like all the plans go out the window anyways. So I just remind myself, just keep an open mind. Every shoot's unique. Trust your instincts. And I don't know if that's really like the creative process, but it's really just clearing the mechanism in a way so I can be creative. I don't know.
No,
Does that make sense?
yeah, no, totally. I was actually smiling over
Okay.
here because you hear about preparation and you hear about, everything. You have to have a plan going in. You have to people mood board and they script everything out, and I wing
Yeah.
everything. So it was kind of confidence inspiring to hear that, you can prepare and you can research and you can have this idea going in, but I think it's setting the expectation in your head that it's not going to go as planned necessarily. So I think if you go into it
Yeah.
expecting that things are going to go wrong, expecting that you might have to do something on the fly, you're less. It's kind of like that Navy SEAL preparation of, hey, we're underwater, what do we do? And instead of having to learn on the fly, you're like, okay, I've been here before. I'm
Yeah.
relaxed. My heart rate's not going to
I
go up.
yeah, I think in the beginning, like when you're learning photography and you're learning kind of like you're new to the game, and you get to a shoot and you need a plan, I think so. It's like the plan kind of lowers the nerves a bit, but also the plan kind of like, I think, inhibits your creativity. It kind of like locks you into a zone. And then if everything doesn't go in that zone, you get frustrated maybe, and then that kind of is like a creative blocker, and you get a little bit stressed or frustrated, start sweating a little bit, and then I think that, man, that just could be a downward spiral on a shoot. So I just really like to remind myself that, look, And again, this comes with experience. This comes with like having, you know, hundreds and hundreds of shoots under my belt, and I've been there and done that before. So I have a lot of memories to kind of work off of when I'm being creative, and I have a lot of rules that I've created for myself that are good rules that kind of keep me on task, but also I try to like yeah, so it's coming from experience. I think like if you're a new photographer, you want to have some kind of plan going in, especially it depends on your client and everything else. Obviously, if you're shooting for a client and it's for a creative director or something, or if you're shooting for a bride or whatever you're shooting for, you need to understand their expectations and kind of like, you know, use those as like your target or guideline. But I think what I'm getting at is like I think I'm most creative and most excited by my results when each shoot is different and unique, and I flow off of you know, the situation and the client and the environment, versus like trying to like be rigid and this is what I'm trying to accomplish and I have a plan, I've looked at it, I've planned it out, and this is what I'm going to get, you know. So I found that like I'm more excited about my work when I'm just like surprised by it in a way.
Do you like the rush of maybe something going wrong or figuring out on the fly? I mean, you hear it all the time that professional photographers are really just professional problem solvers. It's getting on, getting there, and you know, 9 times out of 10, at least one thing doesn't go right, and you have to solve a problem. So do you find that it's like part of it
Yeah.
is like the challenge of do you
Yeah.
stay
I mean,
constantly engaged by that challenge?
I'm kind of a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. I've noticed like with the sports I choose and everything. So maybe this career kind of fits in, and I do find myself in a way procrastinating certain things and then rushing at the end because I like the pressure and the a little bit of like, you know, stress in my life for some reason. It motivates me, and maybe I'm just like a procrastinator by nature, and it takes that stress to get me going. But I
The
think
pressure
that like,
performer.
yeah, for sure. I always remember like when I was playing a tournament softball, I would show up right before, like on the first inning, right before I was up to bat, and all the guys would think I wasn't showing up, and I would show up and I'd be up to bat, and that was when I would smack the home run. You know, it's like I just step up to the plate, and I think I do well under pressure, and so it's okay. I feel like I'm the type of person that does okay in thrown into a situation, and I kind of thrive in that. In that, and a lot of people are more planners, but yeah, I think creatives and photographers in general seem to be kind of like that, and it's okay, you know, it's okay to just be like thrown into the mix as part of the fun of the job. And with like my line of career, it's like very much like you know, with my genre of photography, shooting events and shooting weddings and shooting fashion and things like I'm kind of always thrown into situations. So if I plan too much, it's not going to work. So it's almost fun and good to just relax and let it go and take the pressure off and be like, look, I can only do as good as I can do. I can like I'm prepared in every way possible, and I can't predict the future. So just like the pressure is off, like just do your best. That's it. That's all you have to do. Just do your best and try to relax and have fun and enjoy it. And remember that so many people have to go do a boring job and I got to go do like something fun, and just remember that. And I don't know, taking the pressure off myself helps a lot.
Yeah, all while keeping a face up and an act up that like I got this in control. Because you never want to, as much as you might be pressed on the inside, you never want to put up this front of like, hey, the wheels are coming off. So I know you
Of
just
course.
spent 8 months planning the best day of your life, and now I'm about to single-handedly take it down because I wanted to win. But so it's like it's that calculated, like, you know, feeding off of the excitement, but at the same time, in your head, deep down, you know, you have it under wraps. You know, you're going to come out with something.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of being prepared as well, and like knowing your stuff and just doing your homework, and you know, just the experience. That's the beauty of like being a seasoned professional and not being a, you know, someone that's new just starting out. Each day that you take, you know, in the journey of your career is like it should get better and better and better.
Mhm.
I like to compare it. I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I like to I see a lot of similarities in like business and photography and jujitsu and the whole process of just what you go through in jujitsu. And one of the things I noticed was on my journey to black belt, it was like a lot of like memorizing things and practicing and rehearsing them and having a plan going into a sparring session and like trying to accomplish a certain move or goal. And then what I realized was, in a way, your body already know. Maybe I take for granted all the years I was training as I started advancing, but in a way, your body already knows how to balance and base, and you know certain things that you just almost have to let go and let your body do it. And it's like they say, when you become a black belt, that it's the beginning of learning. And what I realized is, like, it's true, because you start trusting. Maybe it's like the label of a black belt. You're like, okay, I'm a black belt now, so I should know a thing or two. But it's like you almost start trusting yourself more, and trusting your instincts, and trusting that that you're going to be okay. And you let go and let your body do the work, kind of like let your muscle memory, but also your instincts and your natural ability do the work. And I think photography is the same way, because a lot of times we get caught up in all these rules and caught up in all these like plans, and so we're thinking too much when we're shooting and not feeling. We're not letting our instincts or our natural God-given vision or taste kind of influence what we're doing. We get caught up in what we've learned. And I think it's good to be like, to kind of like get to that point in your career where, or in your hobby, even like if you're passionate about something, to get to that point where you can let go and just be like trusting everything you've learned, but also trusting what you already had to begin with, your taste, your style, your what you like and what turns you on, and learning to kind of let go and follow those things, and stop being so like tuned in and tunnel vision on the things that you think are right or learned.
I want to go back a little bit to the beginning of your process, because when I think back, as far as the situations where I've felt most nervous or felt under the gun, so to speak, it was always because I might have not set a standard for a given shoot, or I leaned into pressure and was like, oh yeah, I can do that. And it was something out of my comfort zone. So I found that it wasn't really me. I was confident of what I could do, but I got unnerved by, I was like, okay, well, we want you to do this style or a shot like this. And it was something that I'd never done, hadn't practiced, agreed
Yeah.
to. So do you set an expectation, and how much room do you provide whoever you're working with, whether it's a creative director, a brand, a bride and groom, how much room do you provide for their vision, and where do you draw the line between, this is what I do, this is what I'm comfortable with? Because I think a lot of that leans into execution and how comfortable you feel on the day of. If you know that, hey, they said do it your style, versus, hey, we have a list of things we want to hit, I think that's going to add to more pressure, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a great question, because I think as a creative, you're constantly, I mean, as a working professional hired by a client, you're constantly put into this box of expectations. And it is your job to manage those expectations and try to create room for yourself to be creative. And I think what's always worked for me, I think best was, and this might sound weird, but it's my price. Like, because I charge a lot, I think people just assume that I'm a professional, that they're paying a premium for my expertise and my vision. So by nature, as I raised my prices, I saw that that clients were more and more likely to give me room to be creative, and they weren't micromanaging me as much. If I was like more of a value photographer or budget, excuse me, or budget photographer, and I started there, and I noticed that people would not trust me. They knew I was starting out. They knew that they got me for a deal, and there must be a reason they got me for a good deal. And so they would feel the need to do their own research, to learn what they want, and to start micromanaging me in the whole process. And they'd even tell me what to do when I was shooting, like, hey, you should do this. And I noticed as I raised my prices, a lot of that went away. And it just as you get more confident, and you'll just learn from your past mistakes, and you start communicating to your clients before the shoots, and like, look, let's talk about what you're looking for, and then ask the question, how much do you want to trust me and let me? How much room do I have to do my own thing? Or are you very specific? You know what you want, and this is exactly what I need to shoot for you. And it's also managing my own expectations so that I don't get frustrated on the shoot, like thinking I have full control, and then or full creative control, and I don't. It's good for me to know, so that when I get there, I'm like, okay, this is a job, get it done, suck it up. Like, don't get offended. Don't like, like remember who my client is and just take care of them and provide a service. And that's a job I get paid, and go do my creative work on my own, my own personal project, So it's just managing expectations with them. And then also like just being understanding the job really.
That's why I love conversations like these, because I was always the type that hated charging. I got so uncomfortable when it came to paid gigs. And I would always err on the side of, you know what? I don't trust myself. You know what? I'm going to do this for free for you, or I'm not going to charge you any money. And in my head, it was like, okay, no pressure. If I screw it up, what are you out $150 rather than $5,000? But I love conversations like this because you flip that thinking on its head, and it's like, am I any less qualified just because I don't know how to set? No, I'm not. It was just me being in my head. And I'm sure that there's a lot of other people out there who think like me and who are probably doing the same practice, where they're saying, you know what, when price isn't involved, I'm every bit as confident as Mike is in my work, but I just get uncomfortable when it comes to that price thing. And now, hearing that, hey, when I charge more, it's gives a greater sense of confidence in the client, that can change your whole stream of thinking. And you wouldn't think it would buy you less pressure, but I think in thinking of it now, when I hear you say that, it's like, yeah, it probably takes a lot of pressure off your back, because people are expecting, they're getting that artist now rather than that guy from the coupon book who can just walk all over and make their life a living nightmare.
I think, and when your client has confidence in you, and they're putting you like on that pedestal and being like, look, this is the man, like this is the guy, like they're talking about you, or they even like, do you know how much I spent on this guy? And like a guest or another person at the shoot comes up to you and is like trying to pick your brain. I think all of that just builds your confidence. And I remember like reminded me of my very first talk at WPPI. It was my first thing, and I was doing a panel with like 3 other photographers. And I was super nervous and everything and freaking out. And I was like, I did not like public speaking. I did not like being in front of a crowd. I was just like, what am I doing here? I don't belong here. And then my buddy, John Barber, who was also on the panel with me, right after Becker finished his talk, my talk was about to start next, I think. And John pulled me to the back of the room. He's like, Mike, come off stage really quick and come to the back of the room. And I'm like, dude, I got to talk next. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're freaking me out. Like, and he's like, no, trust me, your slideshow's going to play and you should see it from the back. And so like, I had like a 5-minute slideshow or something playing for my intro. And he pulled me to the back, and I was looking over the sea of heads. There's like 1,600 people in the audience. And I remember looking over the sea of heads, all looking at my work up on a big screen. And I'm like, that looks pretty good. Like, I remember thinking like, but I was more like, dude, all these people now think I'm somebody because they're looking at me on stage. They're looking at my work on this big screen. I'm, there as a speaker. So it really built my confidence. And what was weird was I got this little confidence boost before my talk. Whereas like I could have gone up there super nervous, and I kind of was fueled by that, just that experience that John gave me in the back of the room. And then when I started talking, I felt more relaxed, and just knowing that, like, I don't know, seeing, it's almost like that fake it till you make it mentality in a way. It's like, if other people believe in you, it's a lot easier to believe in yourself. And so that confidence goes a long ways. And I think we beat ourselves up and do a lot of negative self-talk, especially as artists and, entrepreneurs. You're always second guessing yourself. And so to have that little bit of confidence from other people, to put yourself in a place where you enable that, where you kind of like activate that confidence, and that, I think social media does that a little bit. Like, if you get any successes, like, put them out there so people talk and create buzz, because that fuels your confidence in a way. But it also, again, just gives you that room for creativity. People trust you. It's just a part of the marketing game, is in a way it works for you in so many ways. Besides just making more money on a shoot or getting more clients, you have way more creative control, and people just trust you. So I found it to be like a surprise. Like, I thought I was just really doing a marketing thing to stand out and to get more business, or to, make more money on fewer jobs so I could spend more time with my family. But what it turned into was I became more of an expert and I had more opportunity come my way. And that opened up my creative control of each shoot. And really, man, it's I think it's night and day. Like, I would encourage people to, like, definitely, like, try to go up in price and see what happens. See what types of clients you attract, and how that opens up your creativity, maybe.
See, this is the side of the creative process that I love, and that a lot of people, they don't think of necessarily when they think creative process. When we hear creative process, it's so easy to put it in tangible terms of, like, okay, before the shoot, what I do during the shoot, what I do after
Yeah.
the shoot, which that does factor in. But I think there's a whole psychological aspect of the creative process of, like, perspective, how you see your work, what goals you have. This is all stuff that factors into how good your creative vision is, how free your creative vision is, and ultimately that leads to better work. If you have a better idea, like, I love that story, just changing your perspective and looking at it, even just looking at it on a big screen versus how many times do we look at our work on our phone constantly, we don't see it, and then
Yeah.
you print your work. Or if you have your work in, like, a book, and you look at it, and especially for the people who have their work published, or it's, not necessarily a standalone collection of their work, but next to other people's work, and you see it and you're like,
Mhm.
wow, you look at all this other work and you're flipping through pages and you're like, wow, this is great work. And then you turn the page and your page is among it. And that's confidence inspiring. And that when you go in and you have to meet with your next client, it's a different era of confidence that you can go in there and say, I deserve to be here. And I think that all factors into who you are. I think it's, like you said, fake it till you make it, until one day you make it and it's the real deal. And you might still have to fake it because that imposter syndrome creeps, but you know,
Yeah. Never goes away.
no, it really doesn't. And no matter how accomplished, I think everybody has their kryptonite. You have, like, that one job, or you have that one client. Like, I definitely, I have a personality type that when I deal with somebody of a certain personality type, I'll get intimidated. And they have no right to intimidate me. It's all me in my head. It's my projection of like my own insecurities intermingling with their personality type. But I think that's why we talk about this stuff and we find those workarounds. And even though it wasn't on a shoot, even though it was speaking on the WPPI stage, what did you do? It was the same thing as getting out and thinking that you were going to have a nice sunset, and you booked this whole shoot based on having a beautiful sunset, and you get out there and the clouds are there. It was just, you were on the WPPI stage and you had to find a way to reconfigure your own mental to get the ultimate end goal. If that, am I getting too deep in the psychological end here? Bring me back to earth.
No, man, no, no, seriously, like, it all is true. And your mental state of mind, and, like, your confidence, and just, I don't know, all of that makes a huge difference in the outcome of your work when you're shooting, especially when you're shooting, like, high pressure stuff, like, when there's expectations and people, and that every click they're going to have expectations to see what that looked like, and it's a lot of pressure. And I think that it intimidates a lot of people, and a lot of people just can't do it because they just, like, give into that. And I think um it takes that experience of, like, understanding that, like, you know photography is subjective, and no matter what you shoot, everyone's going to see it a different way. And I think it's like, as long as you're going to be okay, like, no matter what you shoot, you're going to be okay. And with the digital technology and the cameras these days, it's like, it's really hard to, like, mess up an entire shoot, like, where everything comes back, like the film went bad, like the film was black, I don't know, like, you left the slide in on your
You can't forget to put
220
the
roll.
film in a digit, unless
Yeah, like,
forget the memory card. But
dude, I did that once. Forgot the memory card, and then I did a whole, like, section of the
wait,
shoot, like, at a wedding.
do you have shoot without memory card turned on? I always turn it off because I'm
It
like,
it it
when I
was
walk
it
out of the
was
house.
on. I think I did an update on my camera or something, and it defaulted back to on.
Uh-huh.
And so, like, or maybe it was a long time ago, so it might have just
Mhm.
been that feature was always
Not there.
not enabled or whatever, and it wasn't there. But I just remember I did, like, this whole, like, the romantic pictures of the bride and groom. It was on a golf course, and it was, like, after the ceremony, and it was, like, the most important shots, and we were racing the sunset, and I spent, like, probably 30 minutes shooting with no card in the camera. And then when I realized it, I could not tell them. So what I did was I popped a card in, and I just was like, trying to make up for lost time, shooting fast, and even, hey, you know, that other location we were just at, let's go back there. I really loved it. And like, let's get back there. I think the light's just right now. And I just faked it. Like, you know, like didn't tell them, and I got through it and they never knew, but it was very traumatic.
That's
for me, very scary for me.
you can't plan for that. I hate to admit it, but I did not, within the past year, I was shooting an epic roll of film that was not even loaded into the camera. And I should have realized there was no tension when I forwarded the film. I was like, there's no tension. I didn't feel it. And then you finish that roll and I'm winding it and I'm like, this is winding way too easily. I'm like, maybe so I take it in the dark and I reach in to make sure it like didn't unspool, and I'm like, oh, there's no film in there.
There's nothing in there.
I mentally put it out of my head right away. I'm like, I don't want to remember
that didn't happen.
What I thought I shot. But no. So I want to move, you know, we're talking about managing the creative process. And one of the things that happens when you get to a point in your career that you're taking on more jobs, you're getting busier, is you have to delegate. And you have to pay people to take on processes that either make your life easier or you just don't have the time. And while it's great, and a lot of your top professionals will say, yeah, definitely pay X amount of dollars to have somebody cull your work, pay somebody to do this, pay somebody to do that. You'll save in time and effort. You give up a bit of your own creative vision there. You give up a bit of your creative process. Is there parts of your business or parts of your creative process that you delegate out? What are those parts? How does it affect your overall process, or how do you approach it so that it's in line with your vision?
Throughout my career, I've done almost every different type of, you know, outsourcing and having employees, contractors. I've had my shoots outsourced, like actually photography, everything. And then I've had my editing outsourced, album design, albums, all that stuff. I've kind of gone back and forth, and based on demand and how busy I was and just out of necessity, sometimes I would have to outsource, but sometimes I would be like, well, I want to work on my business, not for my business, and kind of getting into that entrepreneurial side. And so like, I need to delegate everything that I don't want to do, or I just want to make my life more fun and only do the cool stuff. And I would outsource anything I didn't want to do. I remember hating the long, grueling process of editing a wedding, like going through a couple thousand images or 5,000 images. And, you know, that process was grueling for me. It was like, I've already been there, I'd done it, I've seen it through my camera. I didn't want to do it again. I didn't want to go through it again. And it just took, and I would procrastinate sometimes and get a little backlog of weddings. And then that became overwhelming. So I found at a certain point in my career, I'm going to outsource that. I'm going to hire someone to come in. And for a while I would outsource to like a third party and then never like what I got. So then I brought somebody in-house and trained them, like talked to them about what I wanted. And for a while it worked, but then I started noticing that when I'm looking at the finished product, because I would review it before I sent it to the client. And when I noticed that when I was looking at the finished cull of images, even the edit and everything, I'd be like, I don't even recognize this. It's not, I don't remember shooting that. Like, and I would ask my editor, like, why did you choose that image? Just out of curiosity, not to put them down or anything, but like, hey, just want to understand why you picked this. Cause I wouldn't pick that. So why did you pick it? And sometimes it would be like a female's eye. Like I'd have a male's eye and my editor was a female, and she'd be like, well, I noticed like this or that. And I really liked it. I liked the way his hand touched hers, or something like a little more obscure that I wouldn't have seen. I saw maybe the flaw in the technical side of it, and she saw the beauty in the creative side. And so I'd be like, okay, let's leave it in, you know. But overall, like I'd look through the job and I'd be like, this doesn't look like I even shot it. Like it wasn't, like maybe it was a test shot before leading up to the moment. Like I took 3 or 4 shots, making sure that everything was good. And I knew that moment was coming, and then bam, I nailed it. And then I moved on. And I'd get the test shot in there, but the shot that I nailed, that I knew I nailed, would not be in there. And I'd be like, wait a second. I go back and I'd find that shot, I'd be like, why did you not pick this? You know, and then it'd be this, like, well, I didn't like that, or no, this one was good enough. Like I thought that one was better or whatever. So it's all subjective. And then when I started teaching workshops, I noticed that there'd be 15 of us all shooting the same model in the same location with the same exact settings, because I'd be telling my photographer, my students, like, this is a camera setting, so I want you to put it here. And we'd all have the same settings, the same even lenses. We'd all be shooting on like 70 to 200s or something. I told them all to bring that lens so we didn't get in each other's shots, you know, we'd all be at the same distance. And we'd all be like huddled together, shooting the same model, just 1,000 clicks. You just hear it, right? And then we go through and we do the critique afterwards, and everyone would be picking their favorite images and putting them up. And I swear everything looked completely different. Like, I'm like, how is it that we all sat in a huddle and shot the same models in the same time of day, the same camera settings, and everything looks totally different? It didn't make sense to me. I'm like, are there that many? I guess there are that many fractions of a second in time, you know, that you can all capture something completely different. And it was weird. It was really weird for me to see that. I expected everything to look exactly how I told them to shoot it. Like, it should look like exactly like my photo, but nothing looked like it. And it could have been the editing style, how they tweaked it. It could have been the composition. I don't know, like just the timing of it. So what I realized is that outsourcing the creative process, outsourcing like the edit, the cull, the choosing the images, completely changed the outcome. And so I decided that, like, I'm going to bring it back to me. I'm going to sit through the grueling process, because I want to make sure that it's what I shot and it's my vision. Two, I want to see my mistakes and learn and get better. I think that was a big part of it. And I realized I was kind of stagnant. Like, I didn't feel like I was improving. And so bringing it back to just me, I think, helped a lot. And at least I was more confident in what I delivered to my client. It was more like what I envisioned. And now I'm still like that. Like, that's how I'm at now. I'm like, one man show, like I'm a one man band, you know, like I just do it all. And I just, you know, take less work. I don't market myself as heavily. I'm content with a few jobs a month, and I just do my best on them, and I keep those clients happy. I've moved a little bit away from marketing myself so heavily for weddings, because like, my other clients have been repeat clients, just hire me. And I like the fact that if I do a good job and I deliver my perfection, like what I believe to be perfect, then they'll hire me again. Whereas a bride, they might hire me for a baby session or a family portrait session, but it's not enough to keep the lights on, you know? So weddings, you have to continuously market yourself. And I think the perfection side of it has to go away, because you just got to deliver and stay on time and on task. So yeah, anyways, I do both, but like, I don't really market myself heavily for weddings as much anymore.
It's interesting. We put so much weight on getting it right in camera, and so much weight in that's where the decision is made that this is going to be a good image or not. And I think we kind of cast aside. The only time we really see the effect of the post-processing side is if someone really butchers an image, if someone over bakes it and goes too far. But it's like, even just selection, like image selection is, I mean, think about everything, every image you see. I love when Magnum put out, I think it was like the book on Magnum, the contact sheets. And you got to see contact sheets from all these great photographers. And it was like eye-opening. And for people like me, it was like, you know, confidence inspiring.
What did you perceive? Like, did you like photos that they didn't pick, or were like, whoa, like, they're not perfect?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you already know, like, you know that, but there's something to be said for seeing it. Like, you already know that every time they press the shutter, it's not going to be magic. But, you know, there's certain photographers that I love, and, you know, like, let's throw out a name, Eggleston, right? Every time I see it at one of Eggleston's photos, it's like, man, did he ever miss? Like, there's so many just like really, really, really good images. And you know, then you take somebody like that who you're like, man, it must have hit like 95% of the film shots they took. And then you see contact sheets from somebody like that, and it's like, okay, 3 frames, you know, the same moment, 3-4 frames, the same moment, and they picked the best one, or none of them, you know, they didn't hit the mark on any of them. And it's confidence inspiring to see, okay, it comes down to not necessarily who's the best photographer, who has the greatest eye for what I'm going to show to the world, what images I'm going to select. Because I think that's not to say that anybody's not a great photographer, but I think we severely underestimate how important selection is and what we show to the world. And I think especially in the age of Instagram, where this is one of the stress points of people with social media, of feeling like they have to post content constantly. And then you get into the, well, I haven't taken anything I like. I haven't shot in the last 2 months, or I don't have anything that I really feel passionate about. And then you get into this, okay, do I not post, or do I put up something that's subpar? So, I mean, does that
Yeah.
really, I know you're not an over poster on social media, so you don't really.
Yeah, and I deal with that too. A lot of times I get a post ready and then I'm like, no, this is crap. You know, like I don't like it. So I just don't post. And it, in a way, it hurts me because people think I dropped off the face of the earth, or that I'm not shooting anymore. Like I must be like out of town on vacation or something. But um, yeah, I think perfectionism is good to an extent, and then it actually can hurt you, you know. And like staring at, like, I was thinking about what you're talking about, the contact sheets from Magnum, and like seeing that image that, you know, is famous or whatever, that you recognize, versus the other ones. And I wonder if that image was better, or if it was just recognizable, like it was like, yeah, that image, because everyone else supported it and that image made it published and was famous, so your mind is already geared towards like, that's the right image. I wonder if you'd never seen any of the images before, if you would have picked the same one. I got a feeling you might pick something different. Another image might move you in a different way, but since you were already conditioned to see that one. So the point is that almost whatever we post, as long as it's within, you know, professional guidelines and it's not terrible, but like, I wonder if people perceive that image um more based on the credibility of the photographer, or
The fact that you chose it,
the fact that
like,
you chose it. Yeah, you picked it, you saw something special in it, so it makes it special, and then it grows on them. And I think there's always going to be that. Everyone's got their own opinion, but I think people in general are a little bit kind of like followers. There's a few leaders in the world, and there's a lot of followers. And so people are kind of like trusting other people's opinion, the experts, and they just go along with that. And they don't really have their own opinion, especially on social media. It's more about like, they look to see how many likes there are before they decide if they want to like it themselves. And it's more of
mm,
like, I don't want to be the one person to like something that's bad, or I don't want to be the one person to not like something that's really good. You know,
yeah.
that like they just go with the crowd because they're so worried about, you know, not, I don't know, they don't trust really their own opinion. And so I think the people that are confident in, like, you could be picking images that are really bad, even really bad, but if you show confidence in it and you point out what's good about it, I guarantee you, like, you'll probably stand out more than the photographer that picks all great images, because it's unique, it's different, you know. And you know, there's so many examples of that. Like, I look at their fashion
Oh,
magazines and I'm like, this is really bad, but it's intentionally bad, and there's a consistent theme to the bad. And so, and if this magazine is endorsing it, it must be good.
let's jump
And
on
then
that. Let's jump on that. That's such an interesting concept. I'm glad you brought that up, because I feel like there's a lot of aspects of our culture that are like that. I feel like even just fashion in general, it's like,
yeah,
if I wear
exactly.
something and I walk outside and it's like, it's horrible, but if somebody else, you know, if the right celebrity wears it, if the wrong celebrity wears it, even, it's not
Like
great.
yellow Crocs, like yellow
Like yellow
Crocs.
Crocs. If I wear
You can
yellow
make them
Crocs,
cool. Only
I,
you can make those cool.
I'm trying. I've been trying for years now. It's not working. My New
It
Balance.
works for me. I think you're cool, so I think yellow Crocs are cool. That's
There
just
we
simple.
go. And it's recognizable. You see me coming from a mile away.
It's
So
bold.
yeah, it is. But it's like, it's a. I think part of it's funny how everything's commingling, because it goes back to what we were just talking about, the confidence thing. If I wear yellow Crocs with confidence, you're gonna look at me, right? You don't know me from a hole in the wall. You're walking, and I'm walking, and I'm walking like I'm wearing like Jordan Retro threes. You're not gonna, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, wow, he's got like a certain swagger about himself. But if I'm wearing yellow Crocs and it's like, I'm clearly embarrassed and I'm not, you know, "Ah, my mother made me put these on, or my wife
Your
bought
head's
these for
down.
me," yeah,
Yeah.
then it's like,
Okay, now let's say like you're walking on those yellow Crocs and 15 people walk up and ask for your autograph. Like,
then you're
I'm
gonna
gonna
look
be
at
like,
it.
dude,
Who's
those Crocs, it must be the next thing. I'm gonna buy those like before anyone else
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, and it overlaps to like back to like this photo conversation. Let's talk about like why can't I think of his name? Stephanie Gross, if you're watching right now, I know who. Jürgen Teller. Jürgen Teller said there's a set of Jürgen Teller images that anybody who knows of his work is going to know what I'm talking about. It's these fashion images, and it's like on a suburban street, like up against like a Hyundai accent, and like literally like it was almost like they just walked over and stood on the curb next to a random car and took these images that are just like, and then but then it works because I even start to question, is this really
Stopped you in your
genius?
tracks.
Yeah. Like is this
Yeah.
wait, like is he onto something? Is this really genius? Or is he trolling us? Or is there beauty in the fact of people that just don't care? Like, dude, I wear like,
Mm,
I wear Outback
mm.
Steakhouse 700, New Balance sneakers. I don't care. I love them. They're comfortable. And I think, and the fact that like people are like, wow, I love the fact that you don't care. For every person that's like, oh my God, what are you wearing? It's the fact that like there's something to be said for people who just don't care about what anybody else thinks. Thoughts?
Mhm. I think that's why people do the mustache thing and like, shave everything and just have the mustache. You look like a fireman. And I've been thinking about doing it because it's like, it's kind of weird. And it's like, oh, that's a cop thing or that's a fireman thing. But in a way, everyone knows I'm not a cop or a fireman. They know I'm a photographer. And they'd be like, he's confident in that mustache, even though I have like this
Yeah.
thick Magnum PI thing
Do
going
it.
on.
I'll do it. Bring back Selleck.
I want to do like the curls too. Like there's a guy in my church that curls them up and it's like, but he rocks it and it's so cool. And I respect him for it.
Do
It's
it.
all about just like owning it. And then the fact that it's unique and the fact that you own it and you're willing to do something that most people aren't doing says something about you. It says that you don't care. You're carving your own path. You're like rocking to the beat of your own tune, right? It's like
Yeah.
just, and people
Confidence is
respect that because
admirable.
yeah, people respect that because maybe our world beats you down. Like
Mhm.
especially it starts in elementary school. I see with my kids, like my son. Okay, this is gonna be funny, and I hope he watches this someday. My son, he's in junior high. He's like sixth grade. He's in middle school. He comes home from school, and on his Christmas list, you know what he writes down that he wants?
What?
Ethica underwear.
What are
Underwear.
what are
Ethica underwear. Ethica is like a brand of underwear. They're like $20, $30 a pair. And he's asked
wow.
for underwear. And my wife is like, what is this? Why are you asking for underwear? And as it turns out, I got to the bottom of it. I had to ask him many times and, make him tell me pretty much. He got made fun of in his gym class because he wasn't wearing ethical underwear. And all the cool kids wear ethical underwear. And they all gang up on the kids wearing Hanes or Fruit of the Loom or whatever they're wearing, Old Navy or whatever it is, and they gang up on him and be like, dude, you look at your underwear, haha, and they're wearing their Ethicas and like they're walking around the gym in their Ethica underwear. So he thought that he had to have, and honestly, like he ended up getting them because like he was so self-conscious about his other underwear. I felt bad. I'm
Wow.
like, you're gonna get one pair, no, get like a couple pairs, and then his sister even bought him a couple pairs. So and then he had like, and this is great. I hope he listens to this someday because he's gonna hate me for it.
He's gonna hate you.
It'll be funny. Yeah, it'll be really funny because he's like, if he heard it right now and knew I was talking about his underwear right now, he would die,
He'd
right?
go pull the internet
But
plug.
he would never forgive me. But he won't see this for a while, hopefully, until he's like on. He doesn't have a phone even. I don't give him a phone in middle school yet.
Good
So
for you.
he had six pairs, or no, he had four pairs. He had four pairs. I think my wife bought him two and his sister bought him two for Christmas. So he was missing one pair. Guess what he did? He wore one pair twice in a row.
Oh no.
He would not wear his other underwear that one day. He
He's
did not want to hide wearing his
traumatized.
underwear. So he wore one pair twice that week and didn't wash them, just wore them twice. And I mean, a lot of people, I do that camping all the time. I wear one pair of underwear for a few days, but like his mom was like, you change your underwear every day. So, but the point is like, man, we're so concerned even from a young age of what people think about us. We're so
Yeah.
conditioned because we're made fun of, or we're like, we have to fit in. Society puts us there. But the funniest part about it is if you're the one kid that can rock the Fruit of the Looms and be confident in it, like all the
You
girls go
own
after
this,
you.
you own the school. Yeah, you really do. I,
Yeah,
I
it's
I
like,
was I was
it's all
just
about
having this
confidence.
conversation the other day of like, I look at like the kids that I really respected growing up. It wasn't the normal, like the usual suspects. It was the kids that did their own thing, were unique, and were totally comfortable in it. And I tell people all the time, true happiness is when you finally stop caring what other people think. I mean, it really, like, that's when you hit that point where
Yeah,
you're free. So I've derailed
yeah.
us so lovely here. We do have a serious question that came in. Jim on Facebook, I want to thank you for sticking through my complete sidetrack there, but I think that was good. I think we tied it back around. But
I helped with my underwear stories.
that's great. Underwear and yellow Crocs. This was nowhere in the promo. But as Jim points out in the promo for this seminar, I saw many photos. I think were from Mike. Yes, they were. They're very nicely processed. Can Mike give us some info on how he processes his photos, filters, colors, textures, etc.? So
Oh,
can I expand upon that? Can you talk about, because I always think it's important to know, do you kind of see before the image, if you know, have an idea of how you're going to process it, whether you go like, with like a blown out or like a desaturated look, or so can you talk about going in, your thought process going in,
yeah,
and then ultimately
yeah,
how you
for
post
sure.
process?
For sure. Thanks. And thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that. I'm trying to remember which photos we used for the promo. I think it's like there's a shot on my wall
Looking
here
out
of
of the
actually,
car.
yeah, the girl looking out of the car. So um I think my post process on the image is one, trying to take away any distractions. So if I have to Photoshop something that's distracting in the image, that's pulling my eyes away from the intended subject of the image, I'll fix it. If it's a highlight, if it's something distracting in the background, I'll edit that out. But as far as like the color treatment and all of that, like I try to get the exposure dialed. Like I don't want anything blown out. I don't like really anything important blown out. I want to see detail throughout, but then I think I'm going for also a vibe, like more of a vibe than like perfection. And I've always, probably from my film days, I've always loved the film look. I love the convenience of digital and just the technology of the cameras and how I don't miss a shot with my cameras. Um, but I love the look and the texture and the feeling that I get when I look at film, maybe because it's nostalgic to me, or maybe because it has a certain grittiness and raw look and it looks like almost like unprocessed. It looks like that's how you shot it out of camera. I don't know, but I like the soft, smooth tones. And so sometimes I almost always add a little bit of film grain, and I do that in aperture, not aperture, capture one. Aperture's from the past.
Let's say, did
I,
you?
w-
That was back the pictures you edited in the early 2000s.
I was a I was an ambassador for Aperture with Apple, and I did a whole tour talking about. So that's where that came from. I'm not used to speaking right now. Like it's been a while since I've talked in front of a camera, but so that came back instinctively. But yeah, so capture one, I use the film grain slider and add a little bit of film grain. I'm trying to remember the name of it. I think it's, oh shoot, I'd have to open it up and look at it. There's a name. There's a drop down of different types of film grain, and I think it's the second one from the bottom, if I'm correct. I can't remember the name right now. But anyways, I add film grain. I tend to kind of like desaturate a little bit. Sometimes I go into the color picker and like pick just like the yellow or orange channel, like the selective color, and just desaturate a tad, just to get the skin tones everything looking a little softer and not so vibrant. And then I will I try to maybe boost like the shadows. Sometimes with curves, I'll bring the bottom left corner of the curves up a little bit just to make the blacks not black, like almost make the blacks washed a little bit. And I don't do this on every shot. I go back and forth, and it depends on the client. But if it's my own work and it's for my own portfolio and I'm trying to keep with a consistent theme, this is kind of what I do. And I try to keep like this soft, grainy film look that's got a little bit of like washed shadows, like not like
More like a matte black than a deep black.
yeah, exactly. I like that. Yeah, it's like a matte black. And then yeah, I mean, I can't think of much else. I try to get the skin tones looking true, but maybe like a little bit like desaturated, just a hair. And That's really it. I try to keep it really simple and clean and timeless. I don't want a very strong look to my image as far as like post process, as far as like filters or
Mhm.
any kind of like process that I do to it. I want it to look a little bit true to the eye. But like the image that you're talking about, I remember doing a little more work, making that look a little bit extra like vintage kind of feel. She's in a Mustang, and it's like a 60s Mustang. Um, and she kind of had a hairstyle and an outfit that looked kind of vintage. So I wanted to make it a little bit more like, when was that shot? Was it now or was it in the 60s, you know? And so I think I washed it out a little bit more and kind of played with it. But I
So
like that look. I like that film look.
yeah, I mean, it's like I like what you said there. You're not looking for a desired output. You're looking for a vibe, and you're
Yeah,
going
totally.
in whatever direction that vibe is, which I think that should be the goal of post processing. There's a photographer that said it way better than me, and I'm gonna have to paraphrase because I don't remember who said it or what exactly they said, but it was basically that post processing is what gives you the feeling that, when you post process, that's what adds the feeling that takes you
Yeah.
back to that moment. And it really, that's where you are able to add whatever mood it is that you want to create, whether it's, like a cool mood, whether it's a warm, nostalgic, filmy
Hmm.
look. And so thank you for that glance into
I
your.
think about movies too. Like, look at the great color grading on movies. And
Oh yeah.
like when you said cool blues, I think of like the show Ozark, and like
Oh
everything
my
in that
god,
show is
yeah.
cold,
It's like
and it's a
blue
cold
green.
theme. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, it's very
Even
like
there, there's a
intentional.
lot of, yeah, there's a lot of chromatic aberration. And
Mm,
when you really look in Ozark, there's a
yeah.
lot of like, and I think as much as I loved the show, I was super intrigued by, because it's not a
Yeah.
palette that a lot of people like. Not a lot of people. I'm glad you brought this up.
It's creating a vibe, right? It's
Yeah.
intentional.
Did you
Yeah.
did you did you like it? What did you like about it, or did you not
I,
like it?
it gives me a feeling. I like the fact that it was intentional and it went with the theme of the show. Like it actually matched the show. It gives you this cold, scary kind of like vibe. Like you're
Like
never safe.
unsettling, not comfortable. Like it's not
Yeah,
like a
cold.
comforting,
Yeah. I
like
think of like blues and greens. I think of as like, yeah, kind of like dusk, nighttime. Like it's like even during the day, it's a cold day. It's not a comfortable day. It's not a warm, sunny, happy beach day. It's like, no, it's just gloomy. Something's bad's gonna happen, like,
yeah. All right. I'm glad I'm not
yeah,
the only one that noticed that, because I think I mentioned it to somebody else and they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like,
like everything's
"Okay,
always so blue.
yeah." It was like just like this blue green. Not. It was almost like they just handed somebody a camera. But I know at the end of the
It
day, I'm like,
didn't, yeah, they set it on auto wipeouts or like, like
yeah.
set the color wrong.
Somebody knocked the white balance to like fluorescent by accident, and they didn't know how to change
Yeah.
it on the. But it's like I knew at the end of the day it was intentional. So I was like, I
Yeah.
was super intrigued because it's not something you normally see. You don't see grading like that normally
Yeah.
in television or movies. So it was an interesting intentional decision, to say the least.
Yeah, it was definitely stands out. Like, even I think the picture on Netflix that it shows like the thumbnail that shows the show is blue or something. It's like
Yeah,
got that look. Yeah.
totally. Super
There's a few
interesting.
shows like that.
Yeah, I love. I mean, it's one of those things that ultimately jumps out at you, like Joker, the Joker movie, the color grading. I think it was a great movie, but the color grading is just phenomenal. And you
Hmm.
saw, I think every YouTube photographer popped up after that with like a Joker preset, and everybody on Instagram,
Yeah.
everybody wanted to
Yeah.
jump in and capitalize on that. But we'll see, man. But Mike, it's been great chopping it up. I've already decided you're not allowed back unless you shave the fireman mustache. You got to do it.
I've just been growing this out since I went camping, and it's just getting longer. It's the longest I've had it. You're starting to see all the gray and white hair.
Oh
But
yeah, we got that
yeah,
going
my
on here too.
one of my neighbors, he did the fireman mustache, and I kind of liked it. And the last time I saw him, he shaved it all, and I was like, dude, I was trying to catch up to you, but I guess I got to be the only one stand out
You
and
got to
come
do it.
back
Look, if you send
with
me
the
a
Magnum
picture,
PI.
of the Magnum PI, am more like right now. I get like the Chuck Norris. I'll go whatever.
Yeah.
I can't think of somebody with the same color hair that has like that epic Tom Selleck stash. But if you go Magnum PI and send me a picture, and I'm gonna drag Scott in on it too, because I know Scott can grow a mustache like that in about 3 days. So we're gonna bring him in You
I don't know
know,
how long it'll last. I might have to shave it right after the show then.
Scott just said done. Scott just jumped into the comment section, said done. So I think all three of us will probably be divorced within a day if we don't shave it. Waiting for Scott's message to pop up there.
My wife is so jealous of guys because they could do so much and change it, and it's no big deal. There's no consequence. Like you just like day by day change your beard, and she's like, girls can't do that, you know. So she's kind of jealous. So
They
I
get
might
makeup
cash in on
though.
that.
They get makeup.
Oh
They
yeah,
can,
that's true.
you know, and
I don't know if I'm
hey,
jealous about that though. I don't know if I'm jealous about makeup. That seems like a pain.
I used to have to wear makeup for some jobs.
Oh yeah.
We won't go into that. I did some work, and yeah,
Okay.
it's like with Halloween. You always feel like you have something on your face you want to scratch and you can't. But I think this is the perfect time to end this interview right now. But
Yeah.
Mike, this is great, man. Always love having you on. We're definitely gonna have to get you
Thanks,
back
Derek.
soon. Maybe we'll have you come back and do like a live editing session, since that seems to
Oh
be,
yeah, that'd be
you
fun.
know, something where we can just let you rock, and I'll keep my mic on and bother you while you go through an
Oh, that'd be
editing
fun.
session.
I'd love it. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Definitely. Well,
Thanks, man.
now thank you, man, and a huge thank you also to Sony for sponsoring,
Yeah.
and all of our wonderful viewers out there.
I'm rocking the Sony hat. Well, I'm backwards here. Yeah, look at that.
There it is. He went branded
I'm a
today.
proud artisan.
Proud artisan today. So Sony always hooking us up with great content and great people like Mike. So huge thank you, of course, to them. But Mike, can't thank you enough. We definitely have to get you back. We'll be in touch on that end.
Thanks,
But that's
Derek.
all we got. This is it. It's a
And thanks to
lonely.
B&H too.
Yes, definitely. The Event Space team bringing you another
Yes.
banger. Free education is what we do. So huge thank you to all of our speakers, all of our sponsors, all of our viewers, and the team behind me so diligently working to make sure that we look good and sound great. So that's it. Another rendition of B&H Virtual Event Space is in the books. Catch y'all next time.